Let's go, folks. Time for the Gibby Show.
How you doing, baseball fans, and welcome to another edition of the Gibby Show, presented by Miller Lite, the official beer of Major League Baseball and the Gibby Show. I'm John Arezzi, and I'm in New York right now, but joining me direct from San Antonio, Texas, back from Iowa. John, you were traveling again. You're a best-selling author. You are a two-time manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. You're a baseball lifer. You always tell it like it is, and we got a lot to talk about today. Bringing on John Gibbons. John, back from Iowa. How you doing, John?
Good, Johnny. Don't ask me what I was doing in Iowa other than, my wife and I have got no grandkids. We don't see any in the near future, so we ended up buying another dog. So now we got two labs. It's like that's our grandchildren for the moment. But what are you doing in New York? This is Willie. Are you in New York trying to solve the Mets problems or what?
Yeah, I've been trying. I had a couple of conferences that I scheduled. Buck didn't want to talk to me, but Bartolo Colon was the main reason I was in town. He threw out the first pitch yesterday. Ironically, I had my game use Bartolo Colon jersey on. It was the anniversary of his home run, and he got the biggest ovation of the day because the Mets stunk up the joint.
Were there scouts around with a radar gun clocking his pitch to his first pitch home? They may try to sign him. Maybe that'll sign him.
He's going to be 50, this guy, but he.
Well,
didn't,
so aren't the other two, aren't they?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Scherzer and Verlander. Yeah, exactly right. Their ages equal what they're getting paid. In the millions. But Cologne didn't really. He didn't hit a strike. Let's put it that way. It was a little bit of a wild pitch, and so any chances of him coming back, the pitching staff is not there. But congratulations on the new puppy. I saw some of the photos that your wife Christy put up on Instagram. What a beautiful dog! Wow.
Oh yeah, it's a red lab. I didn't know they had red labs, but it was kind of the originals. They came over. These are English labs, it's a beautiful thing. So when I can, and they both like to sit there and watch a game with me, So I flip the TV on, they sit there and except the Mets want to watch them.
They're going to have their own Instagram. They're going to have their own Instagram page soon, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Waylon and Willie. That's going to be something the fans could look forward to.
That's good. That's what this world's come to, isn't it?
Exactly. Social media. They could be influencers.
That's
There's
right.
A whole new revenue stream there for you guys. But let's get to baseball. I mean, you're talking about the Jays. I mean, they it's like a roller coaster, and this was a week of extremes. You go to Boston, you get blown out, you get swept, and then you go to Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden everything turns around. Now, you as a skipper, I know you're always kind of, let's not panic. You never showed any panic when you were managing, but internally, when you look at being blown out, 5 losses in a row, and then they come back to win 3. Tell us about. Did you ever panic when you were doing it, and is there cause for panic when a team loses 5 in a row?
No, you know what? And I don't want people to dismiss this as you don't care or anything. But no, you can't panic when you got a good veteran team with some good young players, and your team's good. They've already, they've proven that. You know what? You can't panic. You have to when you play games every day. You're going to go through that. You're going to run into a hot team, right? See, Boston was a hot team. Toronto had won. They've been on a nice little roll, and they go to Boston. Thinking people were going, well, they won just about every game they played against Boston last year. Well, that was last year. Boston's better, and they were hot, swinging the bats, right?
They were hot.
Yeah, and then I think last week were we talking about the hottest team in baseball is Pittsburgh. Now Pittsburgh just went down to, of course, it was the American League East. They went down and got swept in Tampa. Now the Blue Jays come to town, they get swept, and they've lost like 7 in a row. It's hard.
Pittsburgh's lost 7 in a row. They're 3-7 in their last 10.
Yeah, it's hard to explain sometimes. It's just, but you can't panic. Yeah, you get frustrated. You look for reasons, now if the team's playing sloppy, they're kind of distracted or whatever. Yeah, all right. Now we got to change some things. But if they're playing good, clean baseball, sometimes you go out there and you run into a guy that pitches pretty well against you and holds down your offense, and you're facing a hot team with the bats. you're gonna, there's a good chance you're gonna get beat because it's the big league, So, but when you know your team's good, you got veterans that have been there and done that. They'll lead the way, and then you get too much talent. Just got to ride it out sometime, and until when the summer comes, the good teams will rise to the top, and the average and bad teams they'll disappear like they do every year.
Yeah, but everyone just kind of speculates and panics, but the team really, I mean, they looked phenomenal. They looked phenomenal in Pittsburgh. They really did. The pitching staff came together, and Bassitt, who we're going to have on the show today, is going to be amazing to have Chris Bassitt here with us. I mean, he really came in, and you're looking for a stopper. I mean, he came in 7 shutout innings. Can't wait to talk to him about that. But what a great performance! And then, of course, Kikuchi. It was like a whole total turnaround from the beginning of the week to the end of the week, and now they're getting ready to go on the road. But before we even get to that, I mean, when you're talking about the record and the momentum, that American League East, and we talk about it all the time. Right now, they're on pace to be the best division in the history of baseball. As we tape this, the record of the American League East: 110 wins, 65 losses. Last place team is the Yankees. They're over 500 as we tape this. It's an incredibly competitive team, as we talk about, but that may have something to do with it too. I mean, it's just so ridiculously elite in comparison to some of the other leagues.
Johnny, it always has been. And as you go back as far as I can remember, it's always. I guess the reason I say that is the way that where the game's different now is there was talk the last couple of years about teams tanking so they can get the better draft picks or they or what have you. Unless my memory is bad, it didn't seem like baseball was always that way. Everybody was trying, but the amount of money being thrown around wasn't like it is today either. So there's a lot of haves and have-nots. There's not a lot of middle class, let's say, right?
There's not in that division.
Yeah. So but I mean, even just in baseball,
Yeah.
So there's your top teams. They stand out pretty good, and it happens to be all your top teams are in, especially your big money teams, the Yanks and the Red Sox. Historically, they're in that American League East, and of course Tampa's been incredible what they've done, and the Blue Jays, they're in the elite class now, and the Baltimore's went on a rebuild, and they're in.
Right.
See, Baltimore was doing what I was just talking about. Teams like we're tanking, they get all these good picks. And yeah, but if you're going to do that, sometimes the fan base has just got to ride it out till they get to those players. But you better not miss on those players. See, Tampa years ago missed on a lot of those big first round number 1 picks, right? Then they started hitting on them, and that's when everything came together. So you can't miss when you're bad and you get them high draft picks. You better get the good
draft picks, and now they're on pace right now. The last team that has been on this type of pace was the '84 Detroit Tigers, who won it all. So their momentum is still there.
Oh yeah, they're good. I mean, bottom line, every team in that division is good. So I guess it just sit back and watch. It should be a great summer of baseball.
Exciting.
Watch that division just battle it out.
Oh, absolutely. And the Jays, they're going to be coming home. They got a couple of games on the road this week in Philadelphia. Then they play the Braves, and then the Yankees come in for 4. Then the Orioles come in for 3. Then they go on the road and they head to Tampa for 4 games. So it's going to be a really exciting couple of weeks for everybody watching the Blue Jays. It's going to be a real. You think it would be a really good test for them at this point of the season, facing all these division rivals?
Yeah, hey, welcome to the big leagues, man. What would you rather have, a crappy team or a mediocre team? And
No.
Exactly, you want to play the best, you want to beat the best because you want to be the best.
Exactly right. And a couple of things we want to touch on with the Jays. I know last week against the Red Sox, it was kind of surprising to see Jordan Romano come in a tie game. And he gave up the game-winning home run in the 9th inning to Alex Verdugo, and they lose 6-5. As a manager, John, putting your closer in, the guy that is your closer, there's no denying that, in a tie game, what's your philosophy on that? And did you ever do that before when you were skipper?
Well, to be fair, I can say that it happens more now than it did I on the road. At home you always put that guy in there if he's available, right? Because he pitches that ninth inning, you come back and score in the bottom of the ninth, you win. But on the road, very rarely, if ever, did I do that. And I don't think anybody really did. But now that the thinking of baseball has kind of turned where you throw your best reliever against certain parts of the lineup. And I understand some of that, but I always thought, and the view was on the road. Okay, he shuts down that inning in a tie game. He's going to have to pitch another one. If you come back and win. And my thinking was too. If my other relievers down there can't pitch a tough inning every now and then, we ain't very good to begin with. Because the top teams always have multiple relievers that they're good. In I guess what sums it all up, it's a different mindset for closers. I don't know why. I don't know. It should it be? Probably not. But they know it. They're so much better when there's a save on the line, right?
Yeah.
Or it's they're pitching the last inning. Like in a tie game at home. It just doesn't, because you'd see closers all the time come in, haven't pitched in 4 or 5 days, and inning to work. They usually get hit around. You have to take them out. Because it's just it's a mindset. So, but the game, like I said, the philosophy has changed. You pitch this guy against, now if you get into postseason and stuff like that, or down the stretch, oh yeah, if it means win the game, you got to win. But you also got to try to keep these guys fresh. But that's the game. The philosophy of the game's changed, no doubt.
Yeah, it certainly does. It has changed, and finally, we want to just kind of just talk about Vladdy. He's got the wrist injury. He's been out for a couple of games. They have a couple of off days this week, so he's had that issue in the past, and even turned down an invite to the home run derby because of it. It seems to be maybe a little bit chronic for him, that wrist.
Yeah, I don't think it's that to that point yet. I think they're just being smart. But he's got a violent swing, man. That's a lot of
He
torque
does.
on them on them joints, and smart to give him a couple days off. They might even with today's off day and an off day coming up Thursday, I think. Maybe they may sit him too, just to be on the safe side. But
Yeah.
he'll get it
Yeah.
taped up. They get MRIs now for hangnails. It's like. No. I mean, no. But it's the availability that you can go get one to tell you everything you need to know. So there's no more guessing,
Right.
and they'll do the right thing. But
Right.
yeah, because you can't afford to lose that guy.
No, not at all. Not at all. He's a spark plug, exciting player. You're listening to the Gibby Show, presented by Miller Lite. And John, I'm sure that you had some Miller Lights, and I think that you were talking about maybe there was a reason that the Jays came back after that 4-game skid in Boston and on their flight to Pittsburgh. So
Yeah, well, I know one thing. Friday was Cinco de Mayo down here, and so I had a couple Miller Lights, just a couple, and then
yeah.
I figured on their flight from Boston to Pittsburgh, maybe they were drinking some Miller Lights, man, on that flight. Man, it kind of got them in a good frame of mind, nice and relaxed, and because it always tastes like Miller time. That's what I would have done. So
Always.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
I certainly had a few Miller Lights. I was in New York, as you know, at the Met game yesterday, and oh my goodness, John, here you go. You got Scherzer coming back, and Max Scherzer, 40, approaching 40. Verlander, the same thing. Max's ERA is close to 7 in the last 7 starts, dating back to last year. It's a big problem, and Verlander hadn't pitched until last week. Gives up back-to-back home runs in the first inning, settles down a little bit. But these guys, I mean, this is supposed to be the glue of this rotation. And watching them and watching Max, it's like, it's really problematic. I mean, we could really use a guy like Chris Bassitt, who's going to be on Gabbin with Gibby today. He was kind of the glue last year. He was stable. We need a guy like Bassitt. But what's your take on, paying guys like $86 million for 2 starters? That's more than the payroll of some teams, I think.
Well, I mean, their owner there, man, he's got it, so he can spend all he wants. You know, I don't think I would, but
Yeah.
but I would anyway.
Yeah, Cohen did say no to something though, because we had rainouts against the Braves, 3 games, and the Wilpons were too cheap to put the $100 million in to get the retractable roof. So now everyone's saying we need the retractable roof, and and Cohen investigates, and it's going to cost $800 million. And he said, "Well, I don't think we can do that at this point." So he did say no to something finally, but but here you go. You're signing these old timers, and you hate to say that they've had historic Hall of Fame careers, but is it time that we kind of look at it realistically as a Mets fan, at least, and say maybe these guys don't have enough in the tank anymore?
No, I think it's too early for that, John. But that's a risky take when guys. I mean, it's a young man's game. There's no doubt about it. And these two are going to the Hall of Fame. They've had incredible careers, and I saw Verlander's game the other day. He gave up his first home run on a pretty good pitch, curveball.
Yeah. Yes,
slider, and then he gave up the other one back to back, and then he settled in pretty good. So he needs time to build up. It's not like he's had a lot of work, right? And he's coming off.
No, he has, and I have high hopes for him still. But Max is kind of like he's getting hammered in the press. He's getting hammered by the fans. Is it because sticky stuff? So everyone's speculating about everything. So we need to have Mad Max back as a Met fan. But
well, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt, and you can't.
You do.
They're basically about 500 right now, the record, right? You just got, what?
They're one game under 500 now. One game under 500 at this point.
Hey, that's why we got
I reminded my nephew yesterday that the 1969 New York Mets were 18-18, and then they started to take off. So there's still hope. But right now in New York, sitting here in New York, it's Panic City if you're a Met fan.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. They got spoiled a little bit last year. Hey, give it time. We're just in the month of May. Remember the flowers that bloom in April wilt in the summer, or
that is true.
Bloom in the spring wilt in the summer. Don't forget.
That's right. It's a long season. All right, John, and now it's time for Gabbing with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons. And we want to remind everybody the countdown to summer is on, and Tim's is ready with your perfect cool down. From real fruit quenchers to caramel toffee cold brew, that sounds delicious, to vanilla ice lattes, to an Oreo double stuff ice cap. Tim's has a cold drink for however you like it. Keep it cold. Visit your nearest Tim's in Canada today, or try out your favorite cold drink. Wow. Sounds like a great lineup there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't think they're ready? Actually, I'm going to Houston tomorrow, and Houston has some Tim Hortons. I'll be visiting there. San Antonio, we don't have any yet. Maybe we ought to open it, but I'll be sure to hit them down there in Houston.
We have a great guest today for Gabbing with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons. He is a first-year Toronto Blue Jay, having signed on as a free agent in the offseason to join a really incredible starting pitching staff. He's already become a solid member of the rotation. And this last week, that 7-inning of shutout baseball as a stopper really turned the momentum around. We are so happy to have on the Gibby show with Gabbing with Gibby, Chris Bassitt. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Hey, did we wake you up, man? You don't get many off days, man. I felt bad asking you to do this. You probably sleep till about noon.
No, I got a little 3-year-old daughter, so I don't know what sleeping in really is.
Hey, good for you, man. Hey, well, listen, we want to welcome you. We're obviously I spent a lot of time in Toronto, and that's mainly who our show focuses on, and then we talk about other things in baseball. But when we saw that they signed you, we all knew that's a great pickup, because you've always been viewed, and people I had talked to also, you're a stabilizer. Every staff needs that guy. You can have your big your guys with the great arms that are trying to figure it all out, and you can have your guys on the tail end that you're trying to just get good efforts out of, and you always get that guy in the middle, man, that you can count on. If I compare you, when I was there, Marco Estrada.
Oh yeah, I played with him.
Okay. All right.
Good old
But
Marco.
yeah, I tell you what, he was like our stabilizer, right? He'd go out there. You could always count on it. Things could be going a little bit haywire. You're going to get a good outing. And if he scored some runs, you were going to win. And see, I think that gets overlooked on teams, but that's who you are.
Yeah, I pride myself. There's a lot of stats I think people try to so-called try to lead the league in, and I really try to pride myself in trying to lead the league in quality starts. That's like my big thing. Just because it's like, all right, give your team a chance to win, and eat innings. I don't want to go 5 innings. I'm hoping to go 7 or 8 innings, but I want to walk on the mound basically every day, and the manager basically knows like, all right, the bullpen can kind of get a rest today. That's the biggest thing for me is just giving those guys in the bullpen a rest.
Oh yeah, that's huge. I think I don't think people always understand that, and nowadays when analytics is so heavy in the game, right? It's almost like you're almost forced if you follow that to take somebody out regardless of how he's pitching, right? Because of
Right.
in I used to be accused of using my gut too much or something. And I said no, I use my eyes. If a guy's good out there, let him roll. That might be his night, whatever. And who you're the biggest smiles on the faces of the guys out in the bullpen. They're going, thank you. We get a break. So that's who you are. But I don't think people understand that all that factors in the toll it takes on relievers over the course of a season. In starters, if you give them a chance enough, give them that opportunity to go a little bit deeper. Or the score of the game can dictate a lot of things. You save the season in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's not a doubt about it. From a health standpoint of keeping guys healthy in the bullpen to, I mean, even like I look at like Gosman. Gosman pitched in Boston. The first couple innings didn't go too well, but then he went and ate a whole bunch of innings after that. And people will look at the outing and say, "Man, that was a really bad outing. Like he did really bad." But I thought the exact opposite. I was like, man, you really showed me something there. Because that could have easily been 3 innings, you were done. See you later. Just scratch it up to having a bad day. But for him to go out there and I think we went 5 or 6 innings, I was like, that's why you are potentially a Cy Young candidate right there. For you to basically man up and say, hey, listen, yeah, I'm not having a good one, but I'm still going to eat innings. You may have won us tomorrow by just doing what you did today.
Yes.
And so it really impressed me. That was one of the few ones this year already that I was like, man, we got something good here.
Yeah, and you know what people always forget too. You go once every 5 days, right? And that's a long time in between. And so you guys want to be out there, unless it's just one of those days you're getting pounded, something's not off it, and you can't leave somebody out there to rot, right? Yeah,
Right.
you're good pitchers, and they sign you for a reason. Let them run it a little bit. Let them run it, because you end up finding something, and it turns out to be a productive day, like you said. But it saves the bullpen, man. And you know what? With a great offense, you guys might come back.
That's right. Yeah, that's the coolest thing about our offense too. Is just don't give up massive crooked numbers, and you're going to have a chance to win every single game.
Oh yeah. All right, well, tell us. We've been talking earlier about the American League East. What do you think of the American League East?
Yeah, I mean, being with the Mets last year, I think there's such comparisons to the NL East and the AL East, where it comes down to. And when I say that, I'm not talking players. I'm simply talking about day to day. You just have a feeling that all right, this division is going to come down to 1 or 2 games. Yeah, these games in early May, those are kind of some of the times they're traps where it's all right, you're into the season, it's a long way to go. Sometimes you'll give away a game early, and it's guys, we cannot do that. I'm telling you, we're going to come down to late September, and this is going to be down to 1 or 2 games, and we're going to be wishing we had 1 or 2 games back. Don't let this day be that day. Go out and take care of business, because we know that at the very end of the year, it's going to come down to literally 1 game. So Just don't give that up.
You're
Yeah,
100%
Chris.
right. Go ahead,
Yeah, Chris.
Vladdy.
I mean, with the division, which obviously is incredible. I mean, the record for AL East teams is off the chart. It's incredible. And then last year with the National League East, you played in highly competitive divisions, and then there were major markets: Toronto, New York. Now that you've had a chance to experience life in Toronto and you had a chance to experience New York last year, give us those comparisons between the market in New York and the market in Toronto, fan bases, just the general atmosphere of you being in these two major markets over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's hard to compare the two. Just New York fans are way different than most fans. New York fans are just so much stuff going on when it comes to the game. They're so passionate. Like I genuinely really like New York fans. Like they truly care. Like you go to breakfast and people are talking about, like, not you, but they're talking about, they don't even know you're sitting next to them half the time, and they're talking about the game and stuff like that. So there's good and bad with New York fans because it's crazy, and they're vocal, good and bad. But the Toronto fans, to me, I haven't really heard much of the bad. It's all been pretty positive. It's all been pretty nice. So yeah, Toronto people are a little bit more friendly than New York people. I'll say that. But
Yeah,
overall, my wife calls me a Yankee and calls me a guy from up north, and I knew my personality kind of fit in with being a little bit of an a-hole a little bit. So we're good with New York fans.
Yeah, Gibby was a part of the team. He was part of the '86 Mets as well, and he's had his time in New York for sure. What made that decision to go to Toronto in the offseason? I know the Mets gave you a qualifying offer, and but I mean, what was the final decision on your part to say, Toronto's where I want to be?
I mean, obviously there's so many factors that go into it. First and foremost, obviously, is family. Like I have a 3-year-old daughter, my wife. We have a son that's basically due any day.
Whoa.
So it was like, all right, like we're gonna be going to a place to raise a family. So it came down to that, obviously. So like it was like, all right, we need some support system. So I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, so my family's kind of close to Toronto. And so that was a big thing for me. And obviously Toronto's a beautiful city. It's safe. It's clean.
Yes.
So I mean, all those aspects when it came to family, Toronto just so easily checked every box. So that was an easy thing. People always like talk about money, and to me, money is like the fourth or fifth or sixth thing down the list. And then obviously, to me, the second thing for me outside of family was just I need to go somewhere that has a chance to win. And I'm not talking like, oh, I have to go to like #1 World Series contender, but I'm talking like, all right, I know for 3 or 4 years or however long I'm here, we're gonna have a good team. I've been on teams, unfortunately, with Oakland where we were bottom of the barrel. We were one of the worst teams in the big leagues. And I knew how miserable that was and how taxing that was, not just on me, but on families and everything else. And it was like, I don't want to put myself or my family in that situation. So, yeah, it was just all those little factors, I guess, that kind of added up.
Yeah, I mean, and also last year, you and Scherzer, I used to love watching you guys in the dugout because you were always talking to each other, the intensity, I mean, the stability you brought to the Mets rotation last year, but always seeing you and Max always talking baseball in that dugout and the intensity. It was really impressive to me. And of course, you had a great team in New York last year, but did Max, first of all, have an influence on you in getting to know him last year and being able to pick his brain and him pick your brain? So what was that dynamic between you and Scherzer last year?
Yeah. So my really good friend, Lou Trevino, he works out with Scherzer in the off season, and he called me up basically when I got traded. And he was like, listen, you two are either going to love each other or hate each other because you're the same person. So I was excited to meet Max. And thankfully, we loved each other. He's truly one of my good friends now. But yeah, he's awesome. His competitiveness is exactly like mine. His crap talking abilities is pretty up there too. So I love that. So, but overall, just he brings it every single day. And I was like, man, like I love being around guys that are vocal and love to just go at people every day. Like, listen, like I'm not going to be quiet about it. Let's go get them. That's similar to what I do, or what I like to bring. So yeah, it was a perfect fit. But then obviously stepping back from all that aspect of it and sitting there and kind of just watching him be him and what makes him so great and what he's learned throughout his obviously historical career. It was cool just to see what has made him so good.
Is it difficult to see his struggles recently? I mean, he had a little bit of injury, and then with the controversy on the rosin, too much rosin on the hand, and so watching now as an observer on Max. I know you probably don't want to give him any advice or anything, but watching Max this year, I mean, what's your take on Scherzer?
So yeah, so this is like the big thing with with New York. I think Scherzer's a non-issue. I don't think there's a single problem with Scherzer. It's just New York media and New York fans are obviously panicking because all of a sudden Max Scherzer has lost it and he's washed all of a sudden. So get Max on a normal 5-day routine and let him pitch and not interrupt him with all the MLB BS. And let's just go see what Max truly is. And I promise you, I guarantee you're going to have a Cy Young contender as a pitcher.
Love hearing that. I have one last question for you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Gibby. The team that you're with right now, the Toronto Blue Jays, give us your take on that chemistry, that team. How special of a team is this year's Blue Jays?
Yeah. You obviously when we talk about why I joined the Blue Jays, there's obviously a lot of factors that go into it, and obviously vetting the team. So I called 5 or 6 guys that I played with. I knew they played with Toronto, and I knew they would tell me the truth. One being Chappie. I mentioned a couple in the past, but and I said, listen, like shoot it to me straight. Like, should I come here? Like, and I knew they'd tell me the truth. And Chappie sold me on it, and what he told me was the truth of they have such a young group that's so good, so talented, and truly want to win. And then I get here, and we added Brandon Belt, we added Kiermaier, we added all these guys that I didn't realize how good this group was until obviously I would say it's hard to judge a team how good they are and how good they can be until the season starts, because spring training, everyone's rah-rah, everyone's happy, everyone somehow thinks they're World Series contenders. But when we got swept by Boston, I was just thinking to myself, like, all right, like we're gonna find out with these young guys real quick, like how they react. It's easy to be free and calm and cool when you're winning, but then when you get punched in the mouth a little bit, who's showing up the next day? And to see Vladdy and Bo and Manoah and those guys just come in and be like, we're still better than everybody else. Like we're fine. And I was like, man, like, so adding their talent, adding their personalities, how good of people they truly are. It's a special group, and I'm so thankful to be here.
Hey, well, you know who stepped up that night after that getting punched in the mouth?
Yeah.
Somebody's got hey, the guy on the hill leads the way now, right?
Yeah.
Hot summer days are almost here. Get ready for refreshing lake dips, lots of cool shade, and the frostiest of frosty sips. All summer long. Keep it cold with Tim's Cold Drinks.
So how's Petey Walker doing, man? Have you hit it off pretty good with old Pete?
Oh, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah.
It's unique though, because like it's funny because every person's different. Every single person's different. So Jeremy Hefner with the Mets, he's laid back. He's a calm presence in the room. And then I walking with Pete, and Pete is the opposite of calm presence. Pete's talking crap to you. Pete's running his mouth, and I'm like, oh man, like me and you are gonna get along real good. So yeah, me and Pete, man, I love Pete. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's one of the best. You know, I go way back when I coached him, and then of course he was a pitching coach when I was there in Toronto. And I used to laugh at him. You need to ask him when we were first together. You know, I had him as a player, but I didn't know him as a pitching coach. But we sit next to each other during the game, right? And at the beginning of the season, I'd hear Pete going, to Pete, man, you all right? You're hyperventilating. You know, it was early. This was his first year as a big league pitching coach, the main guy, right? And if things were going bad on the field or, you know, the pitcher was struggling, he'd be over there. I told him, I said, Pete, you got to relax, pal. It's out of your hands now, man. Just go out and just watch him perform, you know? Oh gosh, but he's one of the best. You know, he really is. Hey, he told me though, you throw 8 pitches, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
you are good.
No, it's just been like an addition, just trying to survive, you know?
Yeah. You know, I was watching you pitch a couple of times. You know, it's got to be an uncomfortable bat for the hitter. It really does, because your ball is ducking and darting. You know, both sides of the plate, moving all over. And like you said, you got 8. You know, it's you know, usually guys that you know, throw a lot of pitches are more finesse, but you got power too, you know. And I mean, I guess there's games you just kind of, depending what's on, you stay with that, or you know, and occasionally that night that everything's on, you know, nobody's touching you. Is that kind of the way it works?
Yeah, I think just because you have 8 pitches doesn't mean you got to throw 8 pitches, kind of thing.
Right.
And I think me and Pete, I think Pete has done an unbelievable job of learning me. He's still in bullpens trying to figure out, like trying to call pitches with me, kind of thing. So we're figuring all that out. Overall, it's just a matter of, I still want to live and die by my sinker. I think when I have bad outings, I think I threw too many off-speed pitches and was trying to be like too cute and trying to fool guys rather than just go out there and attack them. But yeah, I mean, me and Pete and obviously the analytical team and stuff like that, we just sit down and we're like, all right, like the best pitches out of all of your pitches are these for this hitter. And let's go get it. But I mean, for the most part, at the end of the day, we can always have a game plan going into the game, but at the end of the day, that don't really mean anything. I mean,
right.
that gets thrown out of the window pitch 1, and then it becomes, all right, me and Pete talking, me and the catchers talking and saying, all right, like this pitch is doing really well today. This pitch is not good. So let's try to get this one going. I mean, you know the game, but it's just, I don't ever panic when I have 1 pitch or 2 pitches or 4 pitches not working. For the most part, I only need 2 or 3, and then let's just go win a game.
Well, hell, yeah. Chris, if 4 of them aren't working, you still got 4 more, man. That ain't too bad.
Got a good repertoire.
You're normal.
Chris, I want to touch base with you a little bit. I mean, you know, obviously the PitchCom is here this year. You know, that's a new rule. And you pitch with an incredible amount of intensity. You know, even you're pacing in the dugout. A couple of starts ago, you know, you were getting squeezed a little bit, and you go in there and you show your emotions. But that intensity that you have is really part of your dynamic and your makeup. So I want to ask you about how you funnel that intensity during a start, and just kind of talk to you about the PitchCom a little bit too, on how you adapted to that new rule in baseball. And you were one of the most methodical pitchers that I'd ever seen on the mound.
Yeah, I would say I'm still adjusting to it. It's still a work in progress. I think a lot of people are adjusting to it. We're still trying to figure out how to slow the game down. We're still trying to figure out ways to give us a break if we feel sped up. not to make this a long topic, but I hope that we amend this pitch clock a little bit in the aspect of here's the simplest one. Here's something I just don't understand. We added the pitch clock to start the game. We added the pitch clock. The home pitcher that has just warmed up in the bullpen doesn't have the pitch clock on. He can throw 100 pitches, like it seems. And then the away pitcher that has to sit there for 25 minutes to start the game does have the pitch clock. So we literally have the top of the first that doesn't have the pitch clock, and then all of a sudden the guy that warmed up 25 minutes ago, the bottom of the first comes out there and he has a pitch clock. So it's like this stupid little things like that. There's just so many little like things that like fans don't even pay attention to. And honestly, I feel like people that put the rules in didn't even pay attention to.
No, exactly.
That just need to be fixed. Like there's just a lot of things. I think we got what we wanted out of the pitch clock. We got the game down. We got all the BS from the pitchers. You can say the BS from me. I don't mind it. Attacking, I don't care. You got the BS from me. You got the BS from the hitters. All out of the game. The game times are way down. Now let's just make it like we're like, all right, you guys are not going to take advantage of this, but we're going to give you a little bit of like leeway here on these certain like subjects, and that's it. Like so, like I mean, you mentioned it, but like an umpire misses a call. I'm not mad at the umpire. Like I will never be mad at an umpire for missing a call. They're human. That's fine. I can be mad at the situation, but I won't be mad at you as a person. Like we're all trying our best, but I'm allowed to take 5 seconds and just be mad. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't have to go out there, take 5 seconds, be mad, and then be rushed to throw the next pitch. Like I just don't understand that. It just doesn't make sense. And the exact opposite for a hitter. Like you call a ball that's way outside or way inside or up, wherever it may be, and he knows he missed it. The batter knows he misses it, and yet, hey, get back in the box, or I'm gonna call another strike on you. I have to. Like, come on. Like,
yeah.
There's just so many situations where I'm just like, we have overdone what we were trying to do. We were never trying to make this game, just fly by and just pack as much like just stuff into a game. Like if we're going to lengthen the game by 2 minutes, no one cares. Like nobody cares. So
exactly.
So that's the biggest thing. But like to get back to long story short, to get back to like PitchCom, I hate it just because I love the catcher calling the game. I'm an old school person when it comes to baseball, and I love the catcher calling the game. I love the catcher putting in a ton of work to try to figure out like, all right, our game plan's this. And now with the pitch clock, it's almost. I think it'd be almost impossible for me to have 8 pitches and then have the catcher call a game.
Yeah, I think Gibby loves hearing that too.
Oh yeah, you know what, Chris? It's almost like we're trying to make change for the sake of change. So yeah, you cut 20 minutes off a game. Really, is that a long time? And I tell people all the time, well, if you don't like the game or it's too slow, whatever, go home, right? Come back tomorrow, but plus all these people, they got to spend a fortune to go to the game, take their family once or twice a year. Hell, they want a long game. They don't want to get out of there. But but you remember, too. Also, people talk about the great players in the game, right? What do they say? They're able to slow the game down. Okay, so sometimes that means it take a little more time. Yeah, everybody loves somebody can work fast. Some guys that makes them go, right? But not everybody's like that, and so there's got to be some flexibility somewhere.
Yeah. That's 100% right. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but I was just because you saw the WBC, right? The last at bat of the with Ohtani versus Trout, the greatest like at bat in history. Everybody said
classic.
It was like 30 seconds in between every pitch he threw, right? Nobody had a problem with that,
right?
Yeah.
And I've heard that we might just take all the pitch clock and all that away during the playoffs, and I'm like, if you're doing that, then you're basically admitting that this is wrong. So
exactly.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I don't know. I truly think it's I like it. Like all the extracurricular crap has gone out of it. So I like that aspect. But again, I just think if you need to slow the game down, you can slow the game down.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, listen, man. You know what? Hey, you're a. You mentioned earlier we were talking about Toronto. Toronto's going to love you. Obviously, they do already because you know what? You talk about different personalities. If you give them a good, honest effort, you go out there, bust your butt. They love that because you kind of, for not knowing, you kind of got the hockey mentality. Just listen to you a little bit, and if you got that, man, they love you. Give them a good effort, Chris. Man, they'll love you forever, and you know what? They'll cheer you on, man.
I promise I'll do that.
Well, listen, we appreciate you taking the time. So your wife's pregnant, huh? Due any day now?
Yeah, she's ready today, but we'll see. She's due at the end of the month, but we'll see.
Well, man, we really appreciate you taking the time. Tell her we apologize.
No, we're good. We're good.
Well, listen, hey, best of luck, man. You're a real pro. You're a key part of that team, and you're the kind of guy that's going to lead them to the top. So, but thanks for spending some time with us, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Remember, tell Petey Walker to breathe next time you see him. Say, "Hey, just breathe a little bit when I'm out there pitching. Will you just breathe?"
Will do.
All right, thanks, Chris.
All right, see y'all.
See you, man.
That was, I would have to say, my favorite gabbing with Gibby ever with Chris Bassitt, John. That was incredible.
Well, he's just a pro, man. You know what? He's, I've talked to a few people about him. You can tell he's got that old school in him, but he's also very flexible, and he's going to be that guy that we talked about that stabilizes the staff. He's just one of those guys.
And you said he had that hockey mentality, and they love that up there in Canada. And I think he's going to be one of the favorites of the fans all season long.
Yeah, and people, he could be. You talked about emotions and stuff like that. People love that too. There's nothing wrong, in competing out there and being emotional, and that shows you care, for crying out loud.
Right. And you know what really impressed me about him too? He's like, he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He's like going to tell you what he feels, and he did that on this gabbing with Gibby. It was really, really good to see somebody just like he opened up and he just spoke his mind and he gave his opinions, and that was it. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, what a concept, man! Imagine that somebody telling how they feel and being right.
Well, it was very cool to hear it, and but now, I mean, we got to go inspired by our friends over at Miller Lite. It's time for another roast and toast. So this week, who are you roasting, John?
Oh, I've been watching some of these games lately, and they hit home runs, and they're turning out the lights at the stadium. And I thought Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus was didn't they shut that down or something? I said, no, it must have moved on to Major League Baseball.
They did. I don't like it. I mean, you want to see the emotion. I mean, especially if you're at a home game and a guy's hitting a home run around, and especially if it could be a walk-off and all of a sudden all the lights go out.
The guy trips, breaks his ankle. Yeah, we are a little bit old-fashioned. We talked about this.
Yeah.
The home run celebrations in the dugouts and all that, even when your record's 15 games below 500, things like that. But, there's something I just don't understand. So it's almost like we just keep trying. I mean, just try anything to excite the fans. I don't know. Maybe that excites some fans. I don't know. I just don't.
Hey, what excites me most is if I'm watching my team play and there's a dinger, there's a home run. That excites me. I don't need bells, whistles, lights going off. I just want to see the guy hit the ball out of the park, circle the bases, get congratulated. That makes me happy.
Hey, maybe it's like, how they had the Buster Posey rule and then the Chase Utley rule and the slides and all that.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the Madison Bumgarner rule. So they turn the lights out. They can't see him hammering the guys for showboating around the bases after they hit one off of them. So
that's what we'll call it from now on.
That's
the
right.
Madison Bumgarner lights out rule. But I'm sure you have a good toast of the week as well. Something really cool happened. So who you toasting this week?
Well, how about the Miller matchup?
Yes. Yes, that was cool. I mean, it was kind of like a tale of two Millers, really. It was like two guys inspired by Miller Lite. Maybe they took a little cue from the podcast. So it was the top Seattle pitching prospect, this guy Bryce Miller. He was on the bump against Oakland's Mason Miller, and no shortage of electricity there because these guys, they were like Bryce was perfect till the sixth inning. They took a no hitter, both of them into the late innings of the game.
Yeah, isn't that cool? The odds of that happening, I mean, are rare anyway. But then they have the same name, and it's like our favorite name. And on top of that, I guarantee they both celebrated with a couple Miller Lights after that. Yeah, I will guarantee
yeah.
if they were smart.
It was
anyway.
Miller time. It was Miller time for sure.
It tastes like Miller time, baby.
It was very cool.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
Hey, listen, John, I know you are heading out to Houston for the week, and we had a good one today, my friend. It was always great to see you. This is going to wrap up another edition of the Gibby Show. Don't forget to order a copy of Gibby's new book, Tales of a Baseball Lifer, by Gibby and Greg Oliver. It is doing very well. And, John, I mean, you're going to be an orator, and the audiobook is going to come out around Father's Day. So maybe you could read some passages for us next time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if anybody can understand me, but yeah, I'm heading down there to do that audiobook, and it should be fun.
It's going to be fun. Well, you have a great week, my friend. I'm heading back to Nashville today. I'm looking forward to getting home in God's country. You know, my family's here in New York. I'm born and raised in New York. But, man, when I hit Tennessee, when I get home, I'm loving it, man. I just love Tennessee to this day. There 23 years. We're going to be back next week with another edition of the Gibby Show. Until next week, for John Gibbons, I'm John Arezzi. We'll see you next time. And let's go Jays.